One of the presiding ironies of Hamilton's creative community is that the city's best wordsmith has a day job delivering the Waikato Times, not writing for it. If David Bain is the Arthur Allen Thomas of adult paperboys, Ross MacLeod can lay claim to being his big brother, Dylan Thomas, albeit a rigorously teetotaling version. A poet, playwright, actor and filmmaker, Ross is an embarrassment of talent. An artist is capable of tweaking the bard in the Summer Shakespeare to create a postmodern mishmash of ancient texts, as he is removing his outer garments and showing off his bod as a wannabe male stripper in low farce, or consistently placing in the annual 48-hour filmmaking contest through an Orson Welles-like combination of scripting and performance. The ever self-effacing Ross MacLeod.
I once had a friend who worked at a video store, and one day, don't do that, he had a customer ask if he had any Skiffy films. And despite being a film buff, my friend had never heard of Skiffy. He tried the computer to no avail, and eventually the customer insisted he had rented Skiffy films here before. You know, he said, with aliens and robots and stuff. So he was a person who enjoyed science fiction, but had no idea it was called science fiction or why. So what is science fiction? Well, ask someone and they'll probably tell you it's got aliens and robots and stuff, and for the most part they'll be right. But what I want to talk about tonight is how we define the genre and what it means. I'm a storyteller, whether it's on stage or screen or script. I'm about telling stories. And I think it's the story that defines the genre of science fiction. They are stories about how we change science and how science changes us, how technology opens new worlds and how those new worlds act as a mirror to the essence of our humanity. If we get too far away from this narrative, from this exploration of humanity, then all we're left with is a setting. Is it still science fiction? Yes, it is, but I refer to it as weak science fiction. It might feature robots and aliens, but if those aliens have no direct influence on the plot, then the science fiction is just a device. I'll provide an example, though I do so at the risk of causing religious offense. Star Wars is weak science fiction. How can you say that, you ask? Well, it's got robots and aliens and spaceships and laser swords, but how many of these actually have anything to do with the plot? If the ships were boats, if the lasers were guns, if the lightsabers were swords, would anything in the story be different? No, this isn't to say that it's bad, just that it's not science fiction. So what is? I want to read you a story. This is a short story by a writer named Ted Chiang. It doesn't have aliens or robots. What it does explore is how inventions can change our existence. It's called What's Expected of Us. This is a warning. Please read carefully. By now, you've probably seen a predictor. Millions of them have been sold by the time you're reading this. For those who haven't seen one, it's a small device, like a remote for opening your car door. Its only features are a button and a big green LED. The light flashes if you press the button. Specifically, the light flashes 1 second before you press the button. Most people say that when they first try it, it feels like they're playing a strange game, one where the goal is to press the button after seeing the flash, and it's easy to play. But when you try and break the rules, you find that you can't. If you try to press the button without having seen the flash immediately appears. And no matter how fast you move, you never push the button until a second has elapsed. If you wait for the flash, intending to keep from pressing a button, the flash never appears. No matter what you do, the light always precedes the button press. The heart of the predictor has a circuit with a negative time delay. It sends the signal back in time 1 second. The full implications of this technology become apparent later. But that is not what this warning is about. The immediate problem is that predictors demonstrate there is no such thing as free will. There have always been arguments showing that free will is an illusion, some based on physics, some on pure logic. Most people agree these arguments are irrefutable, but no one really accepts the conclusion. What it takes is a demonstration, and that is what a predictor provides. Typically, a person plays with a predictor compulsively for several days, showing it to friends, trying various schemes to outwit it. Eventually, they lose interest, but no one can forget what it means. Some people, realizing their choices don't matter, refuse to make any choices at all. Eventually, a third of those who play with a predictor must be hospitalized because they won't feed themselves. The end state is akinetic mutism, a kind of waking coma. They'll track motion with their eyes and change position occasionally, but nothing more. The ability to remove remains. The motivation is gone. Now it spreads like a cognitive plague. People used to speculate about a thought that destroys the thinker, some unspeakable Lovecraftian horror or Gödel sentence that crashes the human logic system. It turns out that disabling thought is one we've all encountered, the idea that free will doesn't exist. It just wasn't harmful until you believed it. Doctors try to argue with patients while they still respond to conversation. We've all been living happy lives before, they reason, and if we hadn't had free will then either, what does it matter? Why should anything change? No action you took last month was any more freely chosen than the one you took today. You can behave that way now. The patients invariably respond, but now I know, and some of them never say anything again. Some will argue that the fact the predictor causes this change of behavior means we do have free will. An automaton cannot become a discouraged, only free-thinking entities can. The fact that some individuals descend into akinetic mutism, whereas others do not, only highlights the importance of making a choice. Unfortunately, this reasoning is faulty. Every form of behavior is compatible with determinism. One dynamic system might fall into a basin of attraction and wind up a fixed point, whereas others exhibit chaotic behavior indefinitely, but both are completely deterministic. I am transmitting this warning to you from just over a year into your future. It's the first lengthy message received when circuits with negative delays of greater than a second can be built into communication devices. Other messages will follow, addressing other issues. My message to you is this: pretend that you have free will. It's essential that you behave as if your decisions matter, even though you know they don't. The reality isn't important. What's important is your belief, and believing the lie is the only way to avoid a waking coma. Civilization now depends on self-deception. Perhaps it always has. And yet I know that because free will is an illusion, it's all predetermined who will descend into akinetic mutism and who won't. There's nothing anyone can do about it. You can't choose the effect a predictor has on you. Some of you will succumb, some of you will not. And my sending this warning won't alter any of those proportions. So why do I do it? Because I had no choice. Thank you.